Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome back to Malorie's Weird World Adventures, the podcast. I'm your host, Malorie.
And I'm your host, Michael.
And we're here to show you just how weird this world of ours really is. Now, I'm going to preface this episode with the fact that we are traveling once again in the Great Smoky Mountains. So with that comes very little service and strange occurrences with our recording equipment. So I'm very sorry if it doesn't sound great. Please give us a little leniency there because we are on the road having an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah?
It's less smoky this time.
It is. It's like pretty hot, warm, nice weather. But before we tell you guys about the Great Smoky Mountains, I want to tell you about my visit to Trendelburg Castle and rub it in Mike's face here.
And my lack of a visit.
Yeah. He didn't get to go.
Somebody has to pay the bills. Stay home and pay the bills.
And somebody gets to have fun.
Wow.
And also pay the bills.
All right. But you have fun doing it, and I do not.
That's true. We're going to change that.
Okay.
We're going to change that. But first, for those tuning in for the first time, if you don't know, Weird World Adventures, the podcast, highlights the strange, bizarre, and wonderful places around the world. And we have our companion television show on Amazon Prime called Weird World Adventures. So be sure to watch Season 1 now on Prime and tune into Season 2, which we'll be releasing in the fall of this year, which is 2025.
Yes.
You can visit our website at maloriesadventures.com. And now let's talk about Germany.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you lead since I wasn't there.
I am very sorry you didn't get to go to Germany. So this was actually a Michael discovery.
That's the best part. That's the best part. It was a Michael discovery. I didn't even get to see it. I'll be watching it on Season 2 along with everybody else.
You will, and it was so wonderful. So I was following the fairy tale route, as we've talked about, in Germany, and the Brothers Grimm, and, kind of where they lived and what inspired them. And there is a real Rapunzel tower that is in Germany, that is in Trendelburg. Trendelburg Castle specifically has this tower, and they think that it might have been the tower that inspired the Brothers Grimm when they were translating their story of Rapunzel. Now, it's important to note that they did not actually write those stories.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just assumed they were... I mean, I guess that makes sense. Most stories
were passed down.
Yeah, it's all passed down folklore.
They took folkloric stories from different regions and put them all together into one tale.
Mm-hmm.
And the story of Rapunzel specifically is actually Italian.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, it comes from Italy. And they think that this tower, though, is what inspired the tower from their story, from their version of Rapunzel.
You know where in Italy?
I don't. I'll have to look that up later.
I don't know. Yeah.
But it's interesting, yeah, because they didn't write any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They were just, stories that were told, and they were the ones that put them to written word.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were wordsmiths and studied literature and writing, and were the first people to bring that to literature, that literature field to study in university in Göttingen. But yeah, Trendelburg Castle, it was a dream. I mean, they get it. They get that people come here because they want to, live in the Rapunzel story. They like the fairy tales. They like the knights. So they kind of got that PR side of things, and they knew how to really have
fully lean into it.
Yes,
yeah.
and offer just a magical experience. I mean, really, it was
you sent me the guy who met you is in a full Teutonic knight, Germanic knight outfit.
It was so great. So I get there, and I felt bad because I was a little late. Because again, I have to go have my thing about my electric car. I don't think I've done that yet, and I wanted to get your opinion on it. So I guess before we get into the magic of Trendelburg Castle, I want to talk about the reality
of
having an electric car.
You've been focused on getting me on for electric car. I'm not sure. I don't have any special insight. I drive a complete POS beater. That's obviously not electric because there weren't even electric cars there.
Right.
So.
Well, I will say, when they first said, when I work with the German tourism board a lot, and they're very big on sustainability and, being good for the environment.
Sure.
And I appreciate that. That's why most of the stuff we do in Germany, they require journalists and people they have to, coming out to do the train system, the Deutsche Bahn. So Deutsche Bahn is one of their big partners. But because this was kind of going to so many tiny little fairy tale villagey kind of places, they were like, well, it just is not realistic to have you on trains. So we're going to let you have a car, except it's going to have to be an electric car because sustainability. Is that okay with you? And I'm just like, sure, whatever, electric car. That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm pro electric car, but I can already kind of see the issue here. So yeah, I'll let you. Yeah.
They're not road trip cars. They're great for. I live in a village. I maybe drive at most an hour, maybe 2 hours a day, and I have a charging port at home. Great car for that, right?
For sure.
Not a good car for a road trip.
Well, because the infrastructure for the world's driving, transportation system has been gasoline based. Don't quote me on this, but I believe electric cars are not like a new idea. I think when the first round of cars, turn of the century, were coming out, there were both gasoline and electric versions. I think early car models there were electric car competitors.
Right.
They fizzled compared with gasoline because I won't pretend to know the full story, and maybe I could be wrong with this whole thing, but I'm pretty sure that there was an alternative model early on that was electric, and gasoline won out for whatever reason, right? And then once it wins out, all of the infrastructure, all the transportation infrastructure for the country gets built around, gasoline.
The world is built around gasoline.
Well, there's gas stations everywhere, right?
Yes.
There's not charging ports for your
car. And I will say they're very good about having a lot of charging ports. I was surprised, but you have to know where they are. It's like you have to have experience, and I need to know where a charging port is, where I'm going. I need to know if it's a quick charge, because they have quick charging ports and they have long-term charging ports, and you have to know which one you're going to, what it is. And it's not fully plannable, because if they have a charging port somewhere, they're only going to have one or two, and someone else can be using it. So it's very unpredictable. It's just not enough space for it yet.
Well, that, and you're also, the thing that is kind of like the rate limiting step, which I think has made a lot of progress, and I foresee it being fine in the future, but it's the battery tech, not the electric car tech. That is the whole
battery.
Battery.
Because, I get on the road in my electric car, and I think I'm at 98%, everything's great. I'm at the Frankfurt airport, and I only have to drive about 40 minutes to get to Hanau. And at that 40 minutes point, I think I'm at 60% charge.
Yeah.
When I get there, and I'm like, well, that's going to be a problem. How did I just get rid of that much battery power in 40 minutes? I mean, there is about, the way at least I was driving, and there's, I even turn the settings in the car to make sure I drive as efficiently as possible with electricity. If you can switch on modes, as efficient as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably could drive for 2.5 hours before the car would be dead. So it's not a road trip car. An hour, I pretty much went from city to city. They were all about an hour from each other. So I would zap through maybe 40% battery life driving just an hour or something. Mm-hmm. So the car was not ready to be driven.
It's a
for
great
hours.
Type of car for most use. What most people are going to use a car for most of the time is commute to and from work and local go to a restaurant.
Yes.
So, you're never more than an hour out of kind of your home base. But it's specifically not great tech for long distance car ride travel, especially if you're visiting a foreign country, have no idea kind of where you're going and no idea where the charge stations are, and you were specifically in some remote-y type areas because you're following stuff that is specifically fairy tale trail. So it's places I suspect would be the last type of places to have that infrastructure built up in an accessible way.
So stressful. It made my trip anxiety-inducing. And, I got lucky because I was in Steinau the first night, which is this like tiny town. It's like literally a fairy tale village. And I was staying in the Burgermeister house. That's how small it was.
I hear the Burgermeister house usually has great electric car stations.
Definitely. And
all I think, by the way, sorry.
The Burgermeister Burger?
Yes. Yeah. Which one is it?
Santa Claus is coming to town.
Okay, yeah.
The Burgermeister Burger.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I think.
Toys are hereby illegal.
But he did have a nice charge station.
Definitely a nice charge port. So, luckily, my guide, I asked her, like, is there a place to charge my car tonight? Because I don't think I'm going to have a place. I need to charge this car. I'm going to be screwed tomorrow. And she's like, you know what? There is one. And there was a single parking lot in the town, and it had 3 charge ports. I mean, it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But they were the long form ones, so it had to, like, sit there overnight.
Okay.
And people were using it when I saw it at night, and I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
So I wound up getting up at, like, 6 in the morning to move the car. So I'm in the Burgermeister house, so I'm in the town square. Mm-hmm. And they had, like, you could drive in during the day, but they put up this fancy thing at nighttime that you couldn't, so I was, like, stuck in. So I couldn't, like, go charge the car and bring it back. So I got up at, like, 6 in the morning and like, lowered it. Yeah. And then, like, drove it over and charged it until I had to leave at, like, 10 or something. So I got some charge in that morning.
This is another, I guess, point. Unlike, and again, I'm not trying to be pro gasoline. I'm not. I think we, should move towards the sustainable stuff, but the infrastructure needs to be there. You can't transition before
you're ready.
Yeah, before you're ready. It takes time to recharge a battery. It takes no time to put gasoline in your car. You can pull,
true.
and you have to plan around it. And just people aren't going to do that.
No.
For this type of thing, right?
No.
Like, I mean, it's like I can't do a road trip and every 2 hours have to go to a charge station and sit there for 45 minutes to charge my car back.
And
it needs to be
that's
immediate.
What it is.
You need like a turbo. I mean, there are, again, that's battery tech. And it's,
it just needs to get
better. It's getting there, but it's just not quite there.
Because, a lot of them are overnight charging. It takes 8 to 10 hours to slow charge the car.
Right, I mean,
right. I mean,
exactly.
that's not sustainable.
That's fine for, again, if it's like at your house and you're just using it for local commuting. But if you're trying to like cross Germany, right? That's right. On a schedule to be playing, that's not going to work.
And I will say, I am on time. I'm aggressively on time when we're filming or doing things like of importance, or I'm on time. And I was regularly not on time because of the electric car, and it was stressing me out so much because I'm like, that's like an anxiety thing for me. Like, I have to be on time, right? I can't be a professional. And I was just late everywhere I was going because of that car, because of the charging issue and finding a charging part and not knowing where to go.
Stressful.
And I found out near the end that there are quick charges. So when I was in Göttingen, they have quick charge stations at like the train stations, right? So I found a quick charge, and that will charge you in an hour. But still, it's not enough.
Quick enough.
No, it's
my
not
point.
enough.
Like for what you're kind of. I mean, again, it worked, but you have to plan around.
Yeah, it adds an hour to your day. I got lucky because all I had to do that last day was drive from Göttingen to Frankfurt, and then I had a hotel that night, and then we were meeting to go on the boat the next day. So it was a 2.5 hour ride from Göttingen to Frankfurt, and I actually couldn't make it. I had a charge in Göttingen, right? Like, and I couldn't make it from fully charged from Göttingen to Frankfurt. 2.5 hours.
Right.
I couldn't make it. It would have been like maybe I'd make it to the airport and the car would shut down. Mm-hmm. So I had to stop and do a quick charge, which I did halfway through. So it adds an hour to your trip. So then there was a Burger King. So I pulled over, I ate Burger King, I quick charged the car, and I sat there for an hour. I know, I got really sick after that. It just makes me ill as an adult.
It makes you ill as a child also.
It didn't when I was a kid. It does now. And I always go for the onion rings, which is the worst because it definitely makes you ill. There's no way around it.
So many mistakes were made.
But anyway, that was the unmagical part. It was still wonderful. That was my adventure. I like to call it the adventure moment because it was like the unplanned chaos. I always remember that electric car experience.
That's like mostly what traveling with you is like.
Oh no, really? Unplanned chaos?
Yeah.
But I'm an aggressive planner.
Well, you are, but then also there's just always chaos.
I know. I don't.
You do have like a really detailed itinerary when you plan these things out.
Yeah. I try really hard. I try to stick to it.
You I don't know. You create problems. You cause trouble.
How do you cause so much trouble?
I don't know.
Oh no. So anyway, the magical part. I show up.
Yeah.
Day 3, 4 to Trendelburg Castle.
So far, I'm glad I missed the trip.
Wow.
Based on this guy.
It's just this beautiful, domineering castle just over like the city, right? It's like traditional fairy tale German village with this castle in the center. It's beautiful. And I pull up, there's a little parking area. I bring my bags out. I walk in, and there is just a knight, like a full-on knight, waiting for me, all dressed up like, well, I was told that, there was a lady coming, but it looks like it's a queen, and just the full, experience,
Bro, stay away from my woman.
We go in, they give me a tour of the facility. They show me all the cool stuff with the castle, and then they take me to my room. They give me the nice castle suite. I have the nicest.
Oh, I know. You made sure to FaceTime me from that. Rather than my face. I was working night evening shift that day.
No. It had the beautiful drapery with the sitting area at each window, and the canopy bed and the soaking tub, the full castle suite experience. I had a desk, a working area, and an eating area, full shebang. It was lovely. And then they're like, well, you should get lunch. Are you hungry? We'll do your tour after lunch. And they have this whole thing planned out. I'm like, oh, sure, thanks. And so it's very cool because the way it's structured, there's 4 towers, one on each side of the castle. And they turned, so the big one is the Rapunzel Tower. It would have probably been the guard tower, back when it was actually, because it was more of a fortress, I think, when it was a functioning castle.
Okay.
So it would have been a tower where the knights and the lookouts people would be. So it's very tall. That's the tall tower, right? And then there's a smaller one in front of it where they turned it to a spa. It's a sauna. So you can go get a massage and have a sauna experience in the other tower, which is really nice. Because they want it to be a wellness retreat.
We use this to murder people in our city. But now you get a really nice massage.
Exactly. It's a full massage experience. And then from there, there's another tower, which is the fairy tale tower. It's a separate building, a separate entity, a little cottage with the tower that looks like something out of a fairy tale that you could stay in, which honestly I would have loved staying in there too, because it's this full fairy tale looking room, which is very pretty. And then the back behind it, there's another tower which was used for banquets and stuff. It's a small little tower. It's a little tiny room that they you could have a small wedding reception or something in. That was very pretty. And the restaurant, it's kind of around through the back, and you can sit out. They have this room that's very long and open, that's all windows, where you can look out and see the patio, the beautiful countryside, and one of the towers just right in the the distance. It's so pretty. And they're we have a special lunch, and it's a flaming knight spear. Do you eat meat? I'm like, I do. So they bring out this what's it called? The spear stick with the meat on it. It has a kebab.
Skewer?
Kebab skewer, basically. Okay. And with
is the skewer the stick, and is it a kebab when there's meat on it?
I think so. I think the skewer is the stick.
It becomes a kebab when there's stuff on it.
Yes. And so they put it on the plate, and then they light it on fire with some kind of liquor, right? So so I had this flaming meat dish in front of me, and I'm like, well, this is just
a flaming stick of meat.
And then they're bringing me, the lattes, and it was just lovely. So I had a very nice fine dining experience there before heading into.
I think I was eating the PB&J sandwich.
No, you probably were.
I think I was.
PB&J and some apple slices. Yep.
Me and our daughter eating the same thing.
Oh yeah. And then I got picked up by the knight, and he wanted to. So it was an interesting tour because it was less about, I thought it might be about the castle, but it was less about the castle and more about the folklore of the area. So he tells this story about the giants that used to live in the area. And he wants it to be articulately well in German. So he's telling it in German.
Oh, wow.
And the girl with me is like translating it. And he speaks fluent, like perfect English, but he's like, and it's the experience for him that it has to be told appropriately in German.
Uh-huh.
So he tells it and then she translates the story. And then we go through, and the cool thing about this area around Trendelburg is they work with local artists for each of the lampposts in the town to have a different like fairy tale story on them. Mm-hmm. And so you go through and talk about the tales from the Brothers Grimm, and each lamppost has an artistic like shade put in it that shows the Brothers Grimm in one of their stories.
That's cool.
And so he's like walking around, and we're like, showing the different ones, and we're talking about it. They're all different. That's cool. And something that's interesting too, it's they wrote over 200 stories, right? So there's going to be stories that we haven't heard of. Sorry, you're right. They
yes, put to writing.
Transcribed.
Yeah, transcribe. There you go.
That's the right word. Transcribe 200 plus stories. So we're not going to know all of them, right? There's different countries value different stories and that's focus on different stories.
Okay.
It's interesting. So there were some that are big in Germany that we've never heard of.
So you may go to different countries like Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, what are you talking about? Yes.
Yeah.
Really. There were 2 or 3 that were like
why. Like I wonder why some stories like resonate with a certain country and others with a different country.
There has to be a cultural reason for it. Okay, I need this to stop. I need to make sure it's still recording. Yep. Hold on. There it is. Yeah. Yeah, we're good. Hello. There has to be like a cultural reason for it.
Well, sure.
And it would be interesting to see why
I'd like to see like a list of like these are big in this country and these are big in this country, and just see if you could like retcon, like figure out like why why does France like this one?
Right. We should look into that because I would be curious to know.
That'd be fun. Fun if you could try to figure out why. What is it about this story in this region that makes this group of people care about it, and
why this one? Yeah, definitely. And there was specifically a story that I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember the name of it. That it was like a story about a woman that's really big in Germany. They're all like, I can't believe you don't know this. like disappointed in me, but I don't know what they're talking about. And I thought you were here because you love fairy tales, and it's like I haven't even heard of them.
Well, I like the good ones.
Right?
Maybe you haven't heard, but we're making America great again.
Oh, no. One fairy tale at a time. Only the best fairy tales. Yeah. When I was in Marburg, they had, highlighted different stories throughout, right? Uh-huh. And there was one that's a statue, and she's like, obviously you know what this one is. And it's a wolf and, 7 little goats.
The wolf and 7 goats.
And it's called The Wolf and the Goaties. She called it Goaties.
The Goaties?
The Wolf and the Goaties. I'm like,
I learned that one.
No. She's like, you don't know this? And I'm like, no. And then she told me the story, and I'm like, I have never heard that before.
No, still don't know it.
The wolf shows up, and the mom says, don't let strangers in. And the wolf, disguises himself as their mom, and, they let him in, and he eats them. Baby goats.
The goats. It's a goat family?
Goat family. And he eats them.
Oh.
And then one of them hides. Ending. One of them hides and doesn't get eaten. But I've never heard this before.
I haven't heard that one either.
And they were my guy was shocked that I'd never heard it. I'm like, I've never heard that. So the ones that we hear.
And 7 goaty murders.
Yes. So there's ones like Hansel and Gretel, and I think Little Red Riding Hood, Cinderella are just notorious across most places.
Okay.
There are
some. Those.
Yeah, and the ones that Disney touch, I feel like most people just know because Disney touched it, right, and made it a new story. Right.
Well, then Disney needs to do the goat murder.
I know.
For goat murders in the next Disney movie.
But then there's just so many in Germany that they are like, oh yeah, this one that I had no idea what they were talking about. There were quite a few. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
So there were some that I just knew and some that I just didn't. And when we were doing the lamp tour near Trendelburg, the woman that was with us with the castle was even like, most Americans have never heard of this. She's like, I've been around enough now to be like, well, we try to tell the story to international travelers, and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Your dumb American tastes don't allow for fairy tales to percolate through your culture.
Right.
We know you don't know these ones.
But so that was interesting. And then So we did a nice like fairy tale tour of the Trendelburg area, and then I climbed the Rapunzel Tower.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you would climb up some hair though on the outside of it.
They did have a rope hanging out that was supposed to look like her hair.
Oh,
actually,
yeah.
This came up the other day, and I think it was when we were at the Titanic Museum, and I forgot what I said. It was one of the dumb questions, where people sometimes just ask really dumb questions, and I couldn't remember. I was like, this came up recently where someone asked something outrageous. I remember what it is now. It was at Trendelburg Castle. They apparently are regularly asked by both, I want to say, Japanese and American tourists. Okay, specifically.
So it's an interesting mix of specific.
But I think it's the groups that really like Disney stuff, right? I don't know.
Okay.
But either way, where is Rapunzel buried? When did she die?
Which they think it's real?
They think it's real. Ooh. They think she was a real person. She lived in this tower.
But if you had that mindset, wouldn't that apply to, like, where Hansel and Gretel?
I don't know. I'm just saying. A woman told me that they regularly get asked where Rapunzel has been buried.
Well, these are make believe.
So anyway, there's just that.
So there are in fact dumb questions.
There are dumb questions. Okay. We got back, and I had this special. We have a special puppet show dinner experience for you, and it's a special 4-course dinner that in this like dining hall, and there's this special artist from the area that's coming in to do a puppet show for everyone, and we have they gave me like a front row seat for it. It was great. I'm like, oh, this is just great, and I'm thinking I'm in a medieval castle. It's going to be this like medieval puppet show.
How many people are at this puppet show?
Maybe like 30.
Oh wow, okay. I guess I've never had like a dinner puppet show before.
It was a small like.
I had a picture like you're just watching some dude in a box like with 2 other people next to you, watch puppets.
It was a dining room full of people. Like the dining room, it was a smaller dining room. They have like 2 dining rooms, and one like stretches out towards the back where I had luncheon. That's very open where you can look outside.
Okay.
And then there's like one that's like in the castle a bit more. We were in that one, and yeah, they put me right in the front. And then I even got this menu that said for Princess Malorie.
Oh my God!
I know.
You're the last person that needs any more of this kind of thing being built.
I'm never going to recover from
pampering,
this.
Yeah.
And they're coming over with like, would you like beer? Would you like wine? Would you like coffee? Would you like this? And then the 4-course meal is amazing. And they told me the puppet show is going to be in German, and the guy even gave a special announcement for me in the beginning. Like, I'm sorry, it's in German, but if you have questions, I'm happy to talk to you about it afterwards.
Yes. And what was the story about?
Well, I assume that you can usually follow stories with inflections, and it's some, but
and the puppets.
But this was like a space piece. It was space puppets.
What a choice!
It was not what I expected.
Well, yeah,
at all.
You're in a fairy tale castle. We're just gonna pivot fully out of fantasy and do sci-fi.
Space puppets. So yeah,
sure.
Space puppets. So all of a sudden, it's all about space. And the puppets were amazing, and he had these backdrops he changed out.
Is this like also like a fairy tale, or is this like just a totally new story that they like to tell in this place?
The artist. I guess they work with this local artist. He's the same guy that made the shades for the lampshades.
Okay.
And he also does puppetry.
Okay.
And he came up with his the story and all the pieces and the puppets all on his own. Mm-hmm. And I guess it's just a new story that they're telling for the guests of the castle. I don't know. It's a special event.
Okay. Well, but it's a contemporary story.
It's a contemporary story. It was about space, and there was alien puppets, and they even played Star Wars music at one point. I'm like, wow, what is happening right now? He very much. It was cool because they had it structured where we would bring out a course and we'd eat, and then he'd do the next puppet show, and then we'd eat and they'd bring out a course, and then we'd do the next part of the puppet show. It was interesting. It was very cool, and then I think the coolest part, which I have no idea.
Okay.
There was a baby alien and a mom alien and weird alien.
Weird
floaty, like wormy alien.
Is he the villain?
I don't think there was a villain. And then there was like an astronaut, and that was as much as I got.
That was the villain.
Yeah, I'm sure the astronaut was the villain. Very interesting experience.
Yeah, okay.
And then...
So you should have asked some questions.
I should have asked a lot of questions. But you know what? He actually left before I could ask questions, so the joke was on me. He didn't really want to do that.
Good.
It was great. And at the end of the night, you got the special Malorie experience at the end of the night where they just gave me the keys to the front of the castle. I had the keys to my room and then the keys to the front of the castle because they locked up at 10 or whatever it was.
Right.
And I wanted to go out of the castle to check out the lamps, like the street lights with the cool fairy tale things on them. So I'm late at night just heading out of my room and unlocking the front door of the castle to head out and check out the town and then come back in. And it was quite an experience, like to go through, unlock the front doors of the castle, head out, go to the gate, get through the gate, come back in. So I had the front door keys.
You don't ever give the princess the keys to the castle.
Why
You're supposed to lock them in and treat them like a pretty bird to look at, right?
Well,
isn't that the moral of a lot of these old stories?
Yeah.
Isn't that literally the moral? Isn't that literally the Rapunzel story?
Well, yeah, because the evil witch locked her away.
Yeah. So what are we not giving you the keys? Get in your tower.
Well, I think we all watched Sweeney Todd and saw how that worked out. So.
Pretty well.
So she has a whole song about being a pretty bird in the tower.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Joanna? Yep.
I'm sure that resonates with something.
Oh, no. I'm sure it resonates with me. Can I have my keys yet, Michael?
No.
Wow.
You'll have to wait for your knight in shining armor to come.
I thought it was you. Aren't you my Queen's Guard?
I guess.
Look at this guy. There's some great drivers in the Great Smoky Mountains, you guys. You guess you're my Queen's Guard.
All right, fine.
Yeah, damn straight.
It sounds like you found a new replacement knight.
Yeah, he was like the Sir Barristan, right? Like just the old like reliable knight, guy that carries your bags, takes care of you.
The most badass fighter in the entire kingdom.
Sir Barristan Selmy is the secret badass and best character in A Song of Ice and Fire.
Well, you're not making me feel better. I mean, what was the character you had me? You were telling me how Littlefingery I was.
Littlefingery, but then we landed on something else, though, didn't we?
I don't know. You have like an amalgamation.
There was a great amalgamation.
You're just Marjorie Tyrell.
Yeah, I'll take it. One of the just like very quick sidebar about the Tyrells are the greatest because I think one of the greatest moments in the books, at least, I don't think they did it in the show. If they did, it wasn't like it was in the books. Was when Olenna Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns.
We've transitioned to talking about Game of Thrones.
Oh, I know.
Right?
Yes, we are. Yes. She is trying to get information on Joffrey from Sansa, right? But she realizes that she can't talk about it in front of people because it's, a problem, uncouth, and there's people listening everywhere. Mm-hmm. So she has, like, her jester, her, like, singer, performer that follows them around to entertain them, her and her, like, flock of girls. And she makes him sing louder, and she keeps saying, "Sing louder, I can't hear, I'm old," and is using him being just aggressively loud to, like, as a cover to have a private conversation with Sansa. And it's done so well because it's not just, plainly stated. It's just the subtlety of you see what she's doing, and she's, like, one of the biggest players in the game. She just does it so well. Anyway, we have now digressed to Game of Thrones, which means I think we're done with this episode, right? Yes? That's the sign. All roads lead to...
Get off stage music.
All roads lead to Game of Thrones. Speaking of the dire wolves that just happened, right?
I'll have to look into that.
Yeah, we need to talk about that
I haven't read enough about it to have an intelligent conversation about it. Yeah.
Well, I'll just say that George R. R. Martin got a photo
I saw
the Iron Throne with the direwolf.
Yes.
Romulus and Remus.
Is that what they named him?
So there was 2 generations of it. They were talking about this on Skeptic's Guide. And the first generation was just one, and they named her Khaleesi, which infuriates me to no end because no one has realized that's not a name yet.
It's a title.
It's a title. Right. It's not a name. and everyone in the world treats it like it's a name and like that's her name.
Dog. I mean, it's a wolf. Like, I mean, people name their
people have named their children.
Right?
Do you know how many children are named Khaleesi?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's dumb. But you know, like people name their dog like Princess. Right?
Okay, maybe.
The equivalent. But yes, I agree. If you're having like yes.
People name their children.
It would be the equivalent of naming your kid Princess.
Right. It's just not a great move. Anyway, from there. I digress.
Yeah, wow.
And Romulus and Remus were the second round of them.
That's good.
Yeah, that was good. That's a really good one. That's a great poll.
That's a good one.
But we will leave you guys with that today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to check out Weird World Adventures on Amazon Prime and follow along on our blog at maloriesadventures.com, MALORIES adventures.com. Until next time, I'm your host, Malorie.
And I'm your host, Michael.
And until next time, everybody,
stay weird.
Yeah.